This has Miami Heat fans fired up after a brand new article published on ESPN by some of the top analysts and insiders covering the game of basketball. Miami is in a great position going forward, not only through this NBA regular season, but for the years coming forward. We'll break down the entirety of the article and why Heat fans should be ecstatic about where this organization is currently positioned for the years going forward. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest, but first, please do remember to scroll down and click the subscribe button if you're a part of the near 90% watching this video not currently subscribed. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys tremendously for everything. But now let's get to it and break down this pretty good news and major praise for this Miami Heat organization, as it feels like Miami has usually been on the other side of this conversation when it comes to the league as a whole, with other really notable organizations that are relatively young with a lot of upside, a lot of draft compensation. It feels like Miami has not normally been at the top of this conversation. But based off this brand new article, they are just above average, if you will, based off the rankings. And for the overall rankings, the individual rankings, I should say, from this article on ESPN, which goes on to be titled NBA Future Power Rankings, New 3-Year Outlooks for All 30 Teams. And in doing so, they went through and they broke down all of the teams in the NBA in the association, where Miami ranked 14th. I will say, if this seems a bit low, just for some perspective, the Boston Celtics are only one position higher than the Miami Heat, and other notable teams are just below this Miami Heat organization. And there are a lot of contributing factors to how they got these rankings and how Miami got ranked in the 14th spot. So we're going to break some of that down now. And we're going to start with the management as well as the market, because those are the two highest rankings that Miami got out of this five category layout, in the sense of players, money, draft, market, and management. Those are the 5 categories that they were focusing on in this article. And again, Miami with a number 3 ranked management, a number 5 ranked market, as well as a few other pretty notable rankings. Miami's in a good position going forward. Now, the management conversation is short and sweet because we know how this is going to go. With Mickey Arison, as well as Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, as well as the rest of this Miami Heat front office, Miami's in a great position, and they have been in a great position for a long time now. We know who Pat Riley is. We know him to be the godfather, someone that really doesn't take a lot of shit, if any. And with that being said, he also is not scared to hurt people's feelings. He is a businessman first, and yes, he can be a cool guy to work for, someone that you have involved in the organization you are currently playing basketball for. But in reality, when it comes down to it, he is a businessman, and he doesn't care if he hurts your feelings. He doesn't care if he offends you or some or other organization. He's trying to do the best for his organization, that organization being the Miami Heat. Obviously, Mickey Arison having, it feels like, more money than like anybody because he owns the Carnival Cruise Lines, and he's been involved in the Miami Heat market as well as the Miami market in its entirety for so long. The money feels like it's coming at an infinite budget. Now, obviously, that is not the case, but they still remain at the tops of the list when it comes down to that. And when it comes down to market, going hand in hand with the organization and the management that goes with Miami, there's no state income tax in the state of Florida. Being in South Beach in Miami, this is one of the many screenshots and photos you can find of downtown in Miami. It's a beautiful area. It doesn't matter if it's in the winter, if it's in the summer. Yes, it is a bit hot. You'd rather be hot than cold, at least in my opinion, as someone who's grown up in South Florida. I'd much rather deal with the 90-degree heat than the sub-zero temperatures up north. With that being said, and not having any state income tax, and having just an office on the water down in Biscayne Bay, being surrounded by a bunch of really good restaurants, surrounded by a bunch of really good food, a lot of different cultures, there's great things about Miami. Now, is it for everyone? No. For a young man playing a professional game of basketball, or really any professional sport at that level, I should say, it usually works out in their favor because there's a lot for them to do outside of work. Yes, there are a lot of distractions, but with being a professional athlete, you have to know how to be able to handle that. And being in Miami gives you the greatest array of options in the sense of being able to master your craft in a great organization as well as in a great area for great people in Mickey Arison, Pat Riley, and the rest of this organization, but also just being in a great environment, having the ability to really treat yourself, having the ability to be disciplined to the extent where there's these different distractions and there's these different opportunities surrounding you. But with that being said, you also have to remain a professional athlete. So there's risk, there's reward, and there's obviously a lot of benefits to being in Miami. And now for the other three categories, the draft, the money, and the players. Now, we slightly went over the money because Mickey Arison is at the helm of this organization as one of the lead majority owners, and his money comes from the Carnival Cruise Line as he owns the Carnival Cruise Line, which is no slouch. That is a pretty penny to say the least. And with that, we've seen it be turned into this Miami Heat organization and the payroll that they currently have. Now, Miami's in a very interesting spot, and I think this is part of the reason they are in the top half when it comes to the money category. Yes, there are a lot of expiring contracts. Bam Adebayo is really the only player under a substantial amount of money for a substantial amount of years going forward because of the contract extension he signed last season. Now, I told you guys when he signed that contract, I think he did it early. I think he jumped the gun because bearing a Defensive Player of the Year award, a top ranking in MVP in the MVP race, or making an NBA first team, that money would have doubled for Bam Adebayo. Bam did not want to wait. He jumped at the price and he took that max extension, which again was only a max extension for the qualifications he had met up to that point. With more qualifications met, that contract would have then doubled like we just addressed. But again, Bam Adebayo is taken care of for this Heat organization until the 2028-2029 season, where then he will have a player option. Outside of Bam Adebayo, you obviously have Tyler Hero, who's under contract till the 2026-2027 season, as well as Andrew Wiggins. The other guys you see at the bottom of this screen that are in blue, in the sense of the numbers being in blue, those are rookie deals. You obviously have Pelle Larsson, Khalil Ware, Kasparis. You have, who else? Jaime Jaquez Jr., these other notable names that are on rookie deals, a cheaper penny, if you will, as well as being extended through the next 2 to 3 seasons, which is good because they are very, very young with a lot of upside, and we haven't seen them really play a long enough time where you would want to give them an extension. Obviously, Jaquez, Larsson, these guys are going into those seasons where they have to go out there and prove themselves. Where you would like to think the same, but again, it's only his sophomore year. We've seen a lot of players take a drop in their sophomore seasons. They've called it the sophomore slump. Whether it's in football, baseball, basketball, it is a common thread that people normally see. Outside of that, there's a lot of money that is off the tables following this up-and-coming season, which leaves Miami in a very favorable spot in the sense of finances. They are going to have 33 million and some change following this season, bearing a contract extension to Norman Powell, Tyler Hero, or even Andrew Wiggins. Now, we don't know if the Miami Heat organization is going to jump at the bit and actually make those extensions and give out those extensions. But until that happens, the Miami Heat are in a great position going forward with the money they are going to have available for the up-and-coming off-seasons, allowing them to make big approaches and big attempts at these major free agent names that are likely to hit the open market. Now, this is a conversation we've had in the past. A lot of these names, especially when they have the name of a Kevin Durant or a Giannis Antetokounmpo or one of these major stars in the association, usually they are extended before free agency, but all of them are not in that boat, which means there's still going to be a ample amount of great talent on the free agency market that Miami's going to be able to go out there and target with all of that lucrative money they have available in the following off seasons. I think Miami is in a great position going forward, not only in the sense of management, but as well as the position they are in the sense of where they are currently located, being in South Beach, in Miami, on the water in Biscayne Bay, as well as obviously the management, like we mentioned, the market, as well as the money. Now we get to the players. As this team has been really built and how this team is currently constructed, Miami is in a great spot. Yes, there is a great amount of young pieces that we are still waiting to see take that next step, like Jaquez, like Larson, like Devion Mitchell, who has showed us great strides up to this point in his career. But again, there is still room for improvement for him going forward. Obviously, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins, these guys are experienced. They've been in the league for some time now, and they have proven their worth. They have proven what they bring to the table, which leaves all of Heat Nation fired up because, well, they're great players. And now that they are all playing together on the same roster, and they're going to have the ability to lean on one another and produce in a team-oriented setting, we could really see this Miami Heat team really just surpass all expectations and all the boundaries they have had up to this point, through this point in the offseason, which leaves us to believe, could this Miami Heat team go out there and really just be better than everyone expects? Now, for the draft, in the category in which they were ranked 19th, the lowest rank out of all 5 categories for this Heat team is a bit interesting. And yes, it has a lot to do with the draft compensation they have in the upcoming 3 years. Because again, this was a power rankings for the upcoming 3 years per organization. No one is going to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in this conversation. The amount of draft compensation they maintain is actually comical to some degree because of it feels like they've robbed everybody over the last few years, just going out and acquiring this great talent in SGA and these other really good role players that have turned into star players in a really, really good organization, and they still have an ample amount of draft compensation that where if they wanted to move some of it, they could probably go out there and obtain really the majority of any big name stars that may be on the open market or approaching the open market that teams may be looking to trade. Now, if we're going off of the previous draft picks and how Miami is done in the sense of drafting, I believe the rank of 19 should be a bit higher. And the reason I say that is because they haven't hit home runs on every single draft pick. I'm not here to argue that. But if you look at the credible names that have turned into good role players that have the chance to turn into even more, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Pelle Larsson was late in that draft. Kel'el Ware, we all know, is going to be the starting center in this up-and-coming year. Jaime Jaquez Jr., Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. Since 2017, there are a lot of hits compared to the misses on this draft board for this Miami Heat organization. And if we go off of that, I think Miami should be a bit higher ranked when it comes to the overall draft category. Now, I will say, for ESPN, and the little excerpt they gave us here per team, this is what they had to say for Miami. Despite 2 straight non-competitive first-round losses, the Miami Heat moved up. Miami ranking in the top 10 in management market and money helped in its 3-spot jump with Jimmy Butler no longer on the roster. The Heat are not a luxury tax team and project to have spending power in 2026 and the 2027 off seasons. Something we addressed earlier in this video. As we mentioned, there are a lot of players that could be open to a contract extension because of the money not on the books for the following years after this up-and-coming regular season. It says the previous ranking was 17. The Miami Heat have moved up to 14 because of the roster they have built, as well as the money they have not spent and really given out to be on the books for the following seasons. Let me know down below your overall thoughts and opinions on this rank for the Miami Heat. Do you think it should be higher? Do you think it should be lower? Or do you think it's exactly accurate? I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest. Thank you guys for watching.